So, I mean, Reddit sees that, and they're able to get a lot of their users, which results in, Melvin Capital was what, $12 billion hedge fund that needed a capital infusion when all this shit happened. But it's amazing, right? Because everyone's looking for the next stock, the next time. And it's not about earnings, not about numbers, right? Which is pretty crazy. I guess we could start there with the AMC thing, because it was so much news on this thing. It's up, where is it, $40 now, I think?
Well, things move so quick. 43.
43 was I think it was 25 to start the week. But on Tuesday, we had AMC announce that it's going to raise money. They sold 8.5 million shares, which is to Mudrick Capital. It took place around $27 a share, and that was $230 million capital raise. So everyone was happy that they raised money, which was cool. The interesting part of this story is Mudrick Capital, which, by the way, they created a SPAC, and it was an early SPAC. And I have to tell you, these guys did a fantastic job. It's one of the best companies that they bought. They bought Topps, right? The card company. Sales surged 55%. Now you have the Major League Baseball getting into NFTs and stuff. I mean, these guys did a good job where a lot of these SPACs are BS now and getting killed. These guys were early on and bought a really good company. And that's the problem with SPACs right now. They can't really find really good private companies to buy. So credit to Mudrick. But in this transaction, which we almost never ever see when you have an investor come in, is there was no lockup. These are freely traded shares immediately. So Mudrick turned around 2 days later and sold their full position, which was a $35 million. It's about 15% they made up. It's $35 million in a day. In a day. Which, Daniel, is not a good thing, because if they held it to today, just another day, it would be that 230 would be worth $315 million, $15 million. So you're looking at a $110 million gain in 2 to 3 days instead of just the $35 million if they just waited until today to sell. But how crazy is this?
The funny thing with this is you can't have it both ways. So if you're in the media and you're reporting on this kind of cracks me up, because there's a lot of people on Wall Street that are upset that AMC and retail investors made so much money, and there's so much anger out there about fundamentals and AMC, and these guys, everybody buying AMC is basically perceived as an idiot and don't know what they're doing. And you can make that fundamental argument. I'm not disagreeing with that. You can say it's overpriced and all that. However, then a hedge fund turns around and makes a lot of money, and now the media is kind of pissed at them and saying, "Oh, well, they're just taking advantage of the retail investor," or they're The crazy thing was, when they did this offering, they bought at a higher price than when it closed on Monday. Mm-hmm. So typically, if you're trading at $30, you'll come out and offer shares, and let's say you go 29, 28, you go lower. This was trading at, I think, 27 and change, or 26 and change. Tuesday, they come out and they do a higher offering. So there's some skepticism there that, hey, they were in, cahoots, basically, trying to get a short squeeze to go even higher. And then he turns around and liquidates all that, the hedge fund. But as long as you're disclosing everything, there's nothing illegal about this. And again, just to your point, if he would have held it longer, he'd be up even more. Yeah, so you can't complain about retail investors making a lot of money and then complain about hedge funds making a lot of money. So, to each their own. There's a lot of Vegas going on in the stock market right now, but there's always been, craziness and fundamental arguments and all that kind of stuff. What we'll watch play out and see is, what did AMC come out to do today, which you loved, when they started their little... I
love that.
Frank's going to eat so much popcorn.
I love it. That's the one thing AMC. Everyone hates going to the movies, is paying like $8 for the tub of popcorn and $5 for the soda. And AMC just came out today, right? And they said that all their shareholders, which turned out to be 80%, what is it, 80%, Daniel?
I think they said 80% are retail investors, yeah.
Are retail investors. So if you're a retail investor, you're going to be able to get certain deals and certain discounts when you go to the movies, which includes free popcorn and stuff. I mean, it makes me want to buy a couple of shares right now, to be honest with you. But I like that move, because it's just a sentiment behind it. It's all marketing, right? It's all training your brain. Where if you said, hey, we're going to give you, all our shareholders like $15, it wouldn't be a big deal, right? They don't want to say anything. But when you say you're giving away free popcorn, it's almost like if you give someone a bonus of $3,000, and they're like, wow, that's cool, that's awesome. But yet, they know that they love Pelotons, and you send them a Peloton, they're gonna be like, oh my God, it's the same price. But it's just in your brain, you're like, holy cow. And I just thought that was a really smart move. So
don't give me a Peloton. If you give me a bonus, give me a bonus.
Give me a bonus. I'm gonna get, if I would give you a bonus outside of money, I don't know. It's gonna be cigars, golf.
There you go. Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah, I know.
What we're watching play out, though, is you got to give a lot of credit, or at least I do, to the AMC CEO, because you're taking the hand you were dealt. I don't know that, I'm not saying that he had any influence, and I don't exactly know how Reddit I don't know how it got popular on these blogs or whatever, and it's not important to me. But this guy is using the hand that he is now dealt. You go from near bankruptcy. They still have a ton of debt, so you could argue, man, they need to pay down that, or at least roll it out. But you talk about being a well-run CEO saying, hey, we're going to raise money, which they have. They at least have a lot of capital right now to do things. They can renegotiate with different theaters, and they can also look to add more theaters. If you think that people won't go back to theaters, then you can go ahead and try to short it or stay away because it's got so much momentum. But I don't think it's a stretch to think that your average person is going to go back to a movie theater.
No,
I mean, I wouldn't be nervous about going to theater. I can't remember the last time I was at a theater, but it's not because I'm nervous about being next to somebody or the COVID. It's because I'm not really that big of a movie buff. So,
yeah, and Daniel, one of the biggest things here is for me is everyone's happy with this deal. You have AMC raises a shitload of money, right? $230 million, which is great for the balance sheet, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, their junk bonds, which were due in 2026, were trading at 5 cents and now trading close to face value. Good for them. Mudrick Capital's happy. One day gain of $35 million, right? These guys made a fortune too, like easily over $100 million at AMC. I think $200 million plus total AMC and GameStop with their positions early on. The shareholders are happy since the stock is roaring, right, after AMC raised money. And they also announced free popcorn for all shareholders, which is probably the best thing of this whole deal, which I love. But the only loser here is probably this guy, Rich Greenfield from Lightshed Capital. And I don't want to poke fun at him because he's looking at the numbers, but he's obviously short the stock and has a target of 1 cent on AMC. They
really published that?
Yeah,
they have a price target of 1 cent.
1 penny. Yeah.
Well,
so I think he's gonna have to upgrade that to like 3 or 4 cents now after they raise money. But I'm sorry. I mean, look. The thing is, when you got to worry about people like this because you have to see when things change. They change, and I credit Citron. Citron said, we're not short stocks anymore because we got wrecked, and this could easily happen because your short positions are public, right? It's not your personal short positions, but the short float is public information. Maybe it comes out a couple days later, but you could see which companies have the largest short positions. And if you result in a short squeeze, which is pushing the stock price up, because guys, when you short a stock, your loss is infinite and go to 100, 300, 500, 1,000. When if you put $10,000 into a stock and it goes to zero, you lose $10,000, right? You just lose the amount you're putting in. You can get destroyed. You can lose everything you have, right? Everything you have in your account, margin calls or whatever. So when you see that stock going, you're short, say like $7, $8, $9, $10, $12, and it goes to 17, 20, 22. You're forced to cover the short, which means you have to buy the stock, which pushes up even faster. And that's what creates a short sell. I know some of you know that, and all of you know that. But now you have the Reddit crowd looking at, hey, where's the highest short positions? You got Bed Bath & Beyond, again, which is a shitty business model, right? They resell everything for very expensive prices unless they give you that card that says 30% off. It's a crappy business model. It should be out of business. But who cares? Just like GameStop. You're not selling anything anymore. I love GameStop, but listen, every game's online now. No one's really, you don't have to go to the stores. And now they're getting into NFTs or whatever. They should get into, anything, Bitcoin, anything. They're going to get into the hottest trends because they raise money as well. But when I look at everything that's going on, even with AMC, again, it's surged, but it's one of the areas, Daniel, I have to say that it hasn't really taken off along with the reopen trade, where you saw airlines, you saw, just travel-related companies, even the cruise ships, who are still not sailing yet, are well above their pre-COVID highs in terms of stock price and enterprise values. So this is one sector that really hasn't come back, and you haven't seen demand come back. But the way it's coming back right now, this is nuts, man. This is really insane. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's probably going to go higher. It's up to 44 now. It goes high as I'm looking at my screen. It just goes higher and higher.
Yeah, and what I like about the CEO, at least he's tapping into this. And I'm not saying this is anything new because you've always had more vocal CEOs than not, or some people kind of hang out not in the limelight. Some are more vocal. But if you look at some stocks like Elon Musk and Tesla, you cannot argue that he does not have an amazing relationship / connection with his shareholders and his fans. And the CEO of AMC, Adam Aron, is tapping into that. And I think that's a brilliant move. I think the only thing better he could do, Frank, you get a group of retail, what was that, Roaring Kitty? Nah, he made all the money on GameStop. I don't know if there's a popular guy with AMC or a popular retail investor. I'm sure there's a ton of them out there that made a ton of money. But what if they give a board seat to a retail investor? Why not go all in? You want to get direct relationship with individual investors and change it up? Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just simply saying that would be a lot of fun and add to this saga that we're watching unfold in our lives.
You don't need it. Why take the board seat? Why take the board seat? You're in and you're out of it. You get freely traded. I mean, freely traded shares is pretty crazy. But I have to tell you, there's a bigger point, I think, that's not being mentioned on CNBC when they talk about this. And they covered all the points that we covered today and how much, Mudrick made and the shareholders and the free trading. This could open up the door. I mean, the capital raising process through this, if you think about it, what do? A company raises money. They do it through an equity offering. That means they're issuing more shares. Usually has to do it at a discount. And sometimes that stock will stay at those levels for a certain amount of time because, you have dilution. You're issuing more shares. Or you can raise money in the debt markets. Not easy for GameStop and AMC a year ago, which, have to pay super, super high rates, interest rates, because they're not really generating any cash flow. So because their stocks are so depressed. So what's the alternative here? Look what they just did. You come in, you have a big name buy into your company. They came in at a little bit higher than the current price, which is fine. They knew it was going to take off because they saw the short positions and they'd have to cover, right? But even if you give them a 5%, 10% discount to your stock price, right? And then you allow these people to freely trade those shares. Freely trade means no lockup period. In SPACs, they don't even produce a lockup period. Now they're starting to produce a lockup and have to show how much warrants they're giving away to people. Now you're going to see how much these hedge funds actually made. They made an absolute fortune, and most of them are out of the positions in SPACs, even though they told you the company they bought was the greatest thing in the world and you should go hold it long term. No, they got you. The retail investors bought it. Now a lot of these things are getting wrecked, right? That's what they do in Wall Street. Retail investors, that's what they do to you. And that's why I love what Reddit's doing to them right back.